Hello and welcome back to the Extra Time Talk podcast where we talk football and only football. And before we jump into today's Deadline Day special, let's meet our guest for this episode.
Hey there, George Pavlou, ETT editor and Crystal Palace fan.
Hi guys, Extra Time Talk sports writer, uni student studying sports journalism, and I'm a Cardiff City fan.
Alright, brilliant lads. So we've got Joe and George with me today. And today we're going to be looking at the transfers that have taken place throughout January. And we're basically going to look through all the 20 teams and evaluate and rank how well they've done in terms of business, the players they've brought in, the players they've kept, contracts renewed. And let's see which team has done the best business. So starting off with Arsenal. Arsenal have brought in three key signings. The young centre-back in Konstantinos Mavropanos. As well as Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang. So I think all three of those are great signings. So every single one of them will bolster the squad at some point in time. Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan jumping straight into the team, with Mavropanos coming in the future. But with Arsenal's defensive problems, we could see him come in very soon. He was meant to go out on loan to the German side Werder Bremen, but I think Arsene Wenger actually liked him and decided to keep him at the club for a bit longer. Mkhitaryan, such a shame to see him leave United in the way he did, but I'm sure he'll do exceptionally well at Arsenal. Aubameyang meant to be the like-for-like replacement for Alexis Sanchez, which I'm very happy with, but I'm not exactly sure how much of a success Aubameyang will be, because, I think they've got a very similar striker in Lacazette. They're both short, pacey strikers that like to get in behind. So I'm not exactly sure how valuable Aubameyang will be. They paid 60 million for him, club record signing. But I think he could be great. He's been banging in goals in the Bundesliga for countless seasons now. But it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the team. But let's not forget the players that Arsenal lost. Alexis. They lost Alexis, which is a big one for them. He never wanted to stay at the club, so some see it that they got a good deal by getting Mkhitaryan from us, but I think Alexis is a big loss to them. He's been their key man for several seasons now. Giroud left. With the arrival of Aubameyang, I doubt Giroud would have been playing very much football at Arsenal for sure. So by going to Chelsea, and Matt Batshuayi going on, he could be their sort of backup, sort of rotational striker there, especially with Morata not in great form. And Walcott and Coquelin both leaving as well. Walcott didn't really fit in very well, didn't get any first team gameplay in the Premier League, and was just used again as a squad player. I think he's already started off very well at Everton, scored a brace today. And lastly, Coquelin, again, they've got a couple defensive mids, all who I still think are below par for Arsenal and aren't good enough to be in their first team, but the departure of him was not bad. But with the players that Arsenal brought in, I think I'm going to go and give them an 8 out of 10. I think they've done good business. They managed to get more than a bit of money for Alexis, and they got rid of a lot of dead weight at the club and got them off the wage bill. George, how would you rate Arsenal's window?
Well, I think the players they brought in are definitely fantastic players. Obviously, the likes of Aubameyang needs no introduction, though I wouldn't personally class him in the same category as the likes of Suarez and Lewandowski, which we talked about last week. He's still a fantastic striker, will definitely do well for them. I think Mkhitaryan as well will be a great signing for them. Arsenal's midfield is looking a little bit weak so far, so I think he'll provide a bit of strength there, which they needed. He's a good player, will do good for them. I'm not really sure about this Mavropanos person they've signed. I never really heard of him, but Arsenal do need defenders. They're very weak in defence, I think. So it's a good thing they signed him. Although I think they could have done better to sign more of a proven Champions League player, for instance. But I still think they still filled the position they needed at the very least. So the problem is for me, for the players they've let go. Alexis Sanchez was by far their most crucial player this season, in my opinion. And for them to let him go. Granted, at least they got some money for him rather than letting him go at the end of the season, but it'll still be a big loss for them, I reckon. So, on the plus side, I think they have managed to get rid of a lot of deadwood as well, the likes of Walcott, Coquelin, who are good players but just aren't at it for Arsenal anymore. So, in total, I think Arsenal had a good window. I'd probably give them either a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I don't think it's been fantastic for them, though. I think they certainly could have done better. If they'd signed Aubameyang and Mkhitaryan, for instance, or even just signed Aubameyang and Mavropanos and Ket Sanchez and not signed Mkhitaryan, I think that would have been a really good window for them. But unfortunately, they haven't. So that's just my opinion.
Well, I think it's been a really good window, to be fair. I think Sanchez's head was always out. He wanted to win trophies, league titles. He wanted to play in the Champions League, and I think he deserves to. So I think the move made sense. They got to cash in, and at the end of the day, they've spent the money well on Aubameyang. They got a swap deal for Mkhitaryan, quality player, Aubameyang's ex-teammate. Mavropanos, I'm not too sure about. I think they did need a centre-half with a bit of experience in the Champions League or Europe. At the top end of the league, Johnny Evans would have been perfect. And there's still about 45 minutes to go, to be precise. Aubameyang, I disagree. I think he offers a different option to Lacazette. He's a bit taller, he's quicker, more of a consistent goal scorer in the Champions League. And I think in signing Aubameyang, that's actually hinted at Ozil that maybe he does have a chance of winning the league at Arsenal, and he's actually agreed and signed a new contract, I think. Giroud, I think, is a big loss, but that was always going to happen if they wanted to bring in Aubameyang. Giroud, he wants to be at the World Cup, he wants to be on the plane to France, and if he goes to Chelsea and starts scoring goals, which they couldn't do tonight, then probably he will, so it makes sense. Walcott to Everton, I like that because I like Walcott, and he scored 2 tonight. Maybe perhaps he'll be on the plane to Russia if he keeps banging them for Everton. Coquelin to Valencia also makes sense. Player not getting enough game time. Works for Valencia. They did need a defensive midfielder with Kondogbia only on loan. So I've given them an 8 because I think it has been a good window for Arsenal.
Fair points. Bournemouth is the next one. Quiet window they've had. Haven't decided to bring in anyone, nor did they lose anyone too crucial. Connor Mahoney to Barnsley on loan seems to be the marquee one. But Bournemouth are doing okay. I mean, they just hammered Chelsea 3-0, which was a big shock. Eddie Howe still doing great things, and the club generally doing okay. They're exceeding their expectations. I think they're 10th in the league at the minute. So yeah, and for them not to bring in anyone, tactical decision maybe, and they're looking just to splash out in the summer. I'd give them a 5 because I mean they haven't really done much. So I mean it wasn't exceptional, nor did they lose anyone. So I'll go for the average score there.
You can't really grade them. I mean they haven't brought anyone in, but I mean he's obviously kept faith with the squad he's had. They didn't start the season very, very well, but they've been on a great run of late. I think they equalled their joint highest unbeaten Premier League run tonight, which is excellent. And Nathan Ake scoring against his former club, someone they signed in the summer. They spent big on him, so perhaps they were tight for money. I mean, they've kept hold of their players that they wanted to. I think it's been a good window for them.
George?
Yeah, I mean, with Bournemouth, it's sort of like, there's not really much to say, to be honest. They haven't signed anyone major. They've let a couple of lads go on loan who needed some game time. I guess the only thing I could really criticise them for is they haven't signed any, big name players for them that might help them stay up. But then again, they just thrashed Chelsea 3-0. They beat Arsenal the other week. They might not really need that. So yeah, you can't say they've had a good or bad window really. I'd give them about a 5 or 6 personally.
Yeah, fair enough. Brighton's a very interesting one. George, would you like to kick us off with that one?
Yeah, well, we all know Brighton needed a striker. I think they've conceded, if I'm correct, they've scored less goals than anyone in the league. So I think they brought in Leo Ulloa back from Leicester, who's obviously a familiar face to them, and I personally rate quite a bit. Maybe not as a 15, 16 goal a season striker, but enough to come off, a good sub striker, come off and get a goal for them. And then there's Jurgen Locadia, I believe. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, from PSV, who's got the goal record before this season. Honestly, wasn't that great. And we all know, just because you can do it in Holland doesn't necessarily mean you could do it here. But it's another striker that they needed. They got him. So for me, the big thing is whether or not they're going to stay up. Is whether or not these two strikers start scoring for them and hit the ground running. If they do, they'll stay up. If they don't, they won't, in my opinion. But I think overall, I'd probably give them an 8 or 9 out of 10. They've got the positions they needed, and I think they've done well, as much as I hate to admit it.
Yeah, they've also loaned out Jamie Murphy to Rangers, who needed a bit of game time. He tried so hard for a couple of seasons to get them promoted. Finally got up with them, but didn't quite get the game. Same with Lualua, who's gone to Sunderland on a free. I think Locadia, it's not really the kind of striker they needed. Leo Ajoa is the kind of striker they needed, but perhaps someone a bit better. And I agree, he's not going to score 15 goals. I mean, there's only 13 games left in the season, but he suits the way they play. He's big, he's strong, and with the in-swing crosses of Knockout, could nod a few in, hopefully, for them.
Yeah, I've actually been quite surprised with Brighton this season. They've definitely exceeded what I thought they would be doing. And they've put in some great performances actually throughout the season. And to bring in Ujoa is a great signing. I mean, he was not bad at Leicester, didn't get enough game time, often came off the bench in the title-winning season, came off the bench a little bit last season. And you know what, did bits when he came on. But no, I think they didn't bring in like a big name striker that they probably could have tried to recruit because they did have the money. They broke the club record. They broke the club record fee for Jurgen Lucadia, who was mentioned. Not too sure about him, but Joe says Ujoa was the better signing. And I'll take his word for that. Ujoa, I know, is a great player. Again, won't score 15 goals this season, but I think he'll do enough to keep them up and to secure them points on different occasions. So I'd go ahead and give them a 7. They didn't lose anyone too major as well, so solid window for them.
So obviously Burnley brought in 2 wingers, one on loan from Spurs, George Kevin and Kadu, who was signed from the French league in the summer, last summer rather. Didn't really get a look in at Spurs. They got too many players better than him, but if he can get a run of games and start getting some goals, recording some assists, it could work. He's not really a classic Burnley player, is he? You know, he's a little skinny Frenchman, but he could add a different dimension to their team, a bit more pace than, say, Arfield and Goodmanson, and a bit more quality. And Aaron Lennon is a good signing. He looked a lot happier to join Burnley than he did Everton, for sure. Again, didn't get a lot of games, not really an Allardyce player, a bit too lightweight, but solid window for them, and give him about a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Joe there. 2 very crafty wingers that they've brought in. Not sure exactly how much they needed him when Robbie Brady comes back, and Goodmanson been doing pretty well actually this season. But, you know, just to add a bit of depth and 2 talented individuals, I think will definitely bolster the squad. In terms of departures, haven't really lost anyone. They're doing exceptional in the Premier League. And let's not forget, Sean Dyche signed a new contract as well, which I think is their best signing of the season, keeping Sean Dyche, who's been absolutely outstanding this season, tactically brilliant, and showing a lot of respect for his players and the team itself. So I'd go ahead and give them a 7. I thought there was a pretty good window for Burnley. Didn't bring in anyone major, didn't lose anyone major, but brought in definitely some improvements in the departments that they needed. Well, didn't really need, but helped with the squad depth. George?
Yeah, but I mean, Burnley, again, I think at both Lennon and, sorry, let me get him. Yeah, and Kudu for Spurs. I think they're both good signings. Like Burnley desperately needed pace, in my opinion. I mean, they've got a little bit, but this will allow them to really hit teams on the counter away from home, which their setup allows them to do so well. Like for me, they could probably have brought in another striker because they haven't really got a real clear cut goal scorer in the team. But I still reckon think they've had a good window. They haven't won big, and I think if they, as long as they're on a bit of bad form at the minute, unfortunately. But if they can pick up quickly, then I still reckon they can have a good season. So I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10 myself.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add on. They've not got a clear-cut goal scorer, but they've got a handful of strikers that can definitely do a job. Sam Vokes, Chris Wood, Ashley Barnes, all been quite good this season, technically, and getting the goals for them. So I'm not sure exactly they needed a striker. They've got 3 who are doing the job for them and getting them the points. And maybe they could have got a slightly smaller, more agile striker to be up front, you know, to get in behind, etc. Because you've got these 3 who are all sort of bulky target men. But no,
they signed Naki Bells from Huddersfield in the summer, didn't they? But he hasn't really had enough games. I mean, Chris Wood's obviously a big striker, expensive for a team like Burnley, but He scored a few goals, but they haven't had a consistent goal scorer. But I mean, they're up in the table, got a good draw tonight. Well clear of relegation, they should be fine. Decent window.
Yeah, I mean, I only said that because I think I remember them. I think something like I know they've conceded. They'll score the least goals out of anyone in like the top 12 or something like that. I think they've only scored 19 goals, and that does not. Before Christmas, that didn't seem to be hurting them much, but now their form is dipping. So that made me think that maybe that was an area they needed to address. But I still agree. I definitely think that squad is strong enough to stay up.
Yeah.
All right. Chelsea. Chelsea very active in this window. Blows my mind to see them continue to loan out players. I don't know why they continue to loan out players. Very talented ones as well. The likes of Kennedy, who's been good, Baba, Rahman, Charlie Musonda, who I'm very shocked to see as to why they decided to loan him out. I think he's a great individual. I think he's a great player on the pitch, just hasn't had enough time. But hopefully, he's gone on an 18-month loan, by the way, to Celtic. So if he gets a lot of first team gameplay, I think he could be huge for Chelsea in the very near future. Who have they lost? They lost Batshuayi on loan, but they've replaced him with Giroud. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a bit of a like-for-like replacement. Not sure really who the better striker there is. Both sort of off the bench, second-choice strikers. Batshuayi going to Dortmund, hopefully should get a bit more game time there. He's gone on loan, actually. But paying about 17 million for Giroud, I think that's a bit of good. That's good business. I mean, in today's inflated transfer market, that's not bad for a backup striker who's proven in the Premier League. They signed Palmieri from Roma as well, 18 million, and the one who I think has been one of the best signings of the window is Ross Barkley for just 15 million pounds. Ross Barkley is very talented, great player, and it just needs a bit of time to work and adapt into a squad before he's actually a brilliant player in the Premier League. And to get him for 15 million, with about 5-6 years still left on him at his prime, it's a great bit of business for Chelsea. So I definitely rate that transfer. Overall for Chelsea, I think they've done well. They needed a bit of help in terms of squad depth. I'm a bit confused as to why they continue to loan people out, but I'm going to give them a 7 due to the arrival of Barkley, Giroud, and Palmieri as well from Roma. Let's see how well he can do in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think the thing with Barkley is, well, I mean, he's obviously a talented player. We saw a few years ago just what he really could do for Everton. And obviously 50 million, especially in this market, is nothing to sniff at. That's a really, really good price for him. But we haven't really seen much from him in a while. So it's going to take something. Conte's really going to have to get the best out of him if they want to see some good to make the transfer really worth it, in my opinion, and add something to their team. But he's definitely got the talent. He can do it, sure. On the plus side, I think we all know Chelsea have been desperate for a target man all summer. They've been linked with the likes of Benteke, Andy Carroll, Peter Crouch, some ridiculous transfers. And I definitely think Giroud is the best of the lot that they could have got, in my opinion. I don't think he's the greatest. I don't think he's the greatest striker ever, but I definitely think he can do a job, especially from the bench. He's a good option for them next to Morata, in my opinion. I think Palmieri is always helpful to have a defender for them. They have been leaking goals as of late, so yeah, they've got the complete three basically: defence, midfield, attack. And Batshuayi wasn't really doing the job for them. I don't understand why they loaned him to Dortmund and didn't just sell him outright, got their cash back. But we all know how Chelsea's system works. But yeah, I'd give Chelsea about an 8 out of 10 this window. I think they've done well.
I think it raises further questions over Conte's future myself. I think on paper it's not a bad window, but I think he said in a press conference that he needed 3 forwards, and I mean, I think Riyad Mahrez, if they could go for a last-minute deal there, would be ideal, because they've only got 2 strikers now, Giroud and Morata wasn't even in the squad tonight, so I mean, Conte and the board, they clearly don't get on. He's been playing 3 up front, Pedro, Hazard and Willian, for example, almost as if a cry for help almost. I think Giroud is the kind of player they needed. They got pace from Morata, they got a target man in Giroud, and Giroud has got a lot of quality. They signed on a 3-year contract, I believe, so not a long-term deal, but they didn't really sign anyone world-class, but it's January at the end of the day, and that doesn't really happen in January. So, but Batshuayi, I rate Batshuayi. I wish they kept him, because Morata's obviously injured. If they could play 2 up front with Batshuayi and Giroud, I think that would have worked out quite well. Ross Barkley I like. give him game time and improve, maybe push into the England squad. Emerson Palmieri, not someone I know a lot about, but 17.6 million from Roma. Obviously, Conte knows a bit about him. Another fullback he signed from Serie A, Zappa who's turned out to be okay. I'd give them a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, just quickly to say, Pep has said that Mahrez is a Leicester player. I don't talk about it too much. The transfer window is over, so the guys who are here will finish the season. So that basically rules out all Mahrez transfers for the summer. Oh, and breaking news, Leicester striker Islam Slimani joins Newcastle on loan, which we'll evaluate very shortly, but that's the latest from Sky Sports. Alright, so nice club to look at. George, I'll let you go first for your club, Crystal Palace. What are your thoughts?
Oh God. Okay. Okay. Where do I start? As of we're recording this right now, we still have first signing, which, to be honest, for us is absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. In terms of the players we have signed, obviously we got Yaroslav Yak from. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. From we basically signed him from abroad. Who looks for quite good for a really short price, about 2-3 million, I think. That he looks like quite a good signing. He looks like an absolute beast. So hopefully he can actually replicate that. He's a Polish international as well, and Poland fans seem to rate him quite a bit. So I reckon he should be a good squad player for us, especially since we've got the likes of Sacco coming back, who he can slot in really nicely with. And there's Erdal Rakip on loan from Benfica. Normally, I wouldn't have said we needed a midfielder, but we got the injury to Kabay a couple of weeks ago, so I think it's good we added a bit of depth there, even if it is only a loan deal. And then this entire deadline day has been absolutely hectic. We've been linked in for Amadou from Lille, who has apparently, according to reports, he's been on the phone pleading with them to let him join us. But it's just they don't want to sell him. It's so late in the window, and apparently we've been trying to haggle over the loan deal for like 2 million with like 16 million add-ons or something like that for the whole window. I just think if we'd actually gone in with a decent offer, even just today, the day before today, yesterday, then we might actually have got him in time. But of course, the thing, we always leave it until the last minute is the problem, and it ends up letting players. We end up letting players slip through our fingers way too often, in my opinion. We also needed a keeper as well. We were looking at Vincenti Gaeta, or however you pronounce it. Again, excuse me, I'm really bad with names. From Getafe in Spain. They wanted to hold out for 8 million. There was we apparently found some sort of secret release clause where he needed 4 million. There was actually 4 million with his release clause. So we bid £4 million and £1 because of course we did. They turned that down. We haven't got anywhere from that. So, but apparently he's really keen to join us. He actually apparently signed a pre-contract with us because his contract expires in the summer. So apparently he's all set to sign for us in the summer if that deal doesn't go through, which it doesn't look like it will. So I think that Hennessy and Speroni obviously aren't the best keepers in the world, but I also don't think they're bad enough to get us relegated by themselves. They can do a job in the games we need them to, in my opinion. So even though I would have preferred him now, I'm willing to accept getting him in the summer as long as we actually do get him in the summer and we don't let him slip through our fingers because that's happened way too often. But overall, I just think it's been a pain. I think we've just barely scraped what we need to. I think it's just been a very average window. We got a striker which we needed, and we're due to sign Sorloth from FC Midtjylland. Again, I'm sorry, that's probably the worst pronunciation. But we're due to sign him. Apparently, it's all done. We're just waiting for the announcement. So, we always say for everyone announcements, but apparently that's done. We needed a striker just as a backup to Benteke. Maybe he's not the best in the world, but beggars can't be choosers at this stage. So I think we've just barely scraped the minimum what we need to do. But we have got most of the positions we need, and the ones we haven't, I don't think we're desperate enough for us to get this window we got in the summer. So I'd probably rate us about a 5 or 6 out of 10 personally.
All right. Again, I'm a bit unfamiliar with the signings that have been brought in, but the main thing that I noticed from Palace's window was the fact that they held on to Zaha, Townsend, Benteke, all their top quality players, Premier League proven, Premier League quality that you guys have managed to keep hold of. Zaha made it very clear at the start of the window, I believe, that he made it very clear at the start of the window that he was going to stay at Palace, and quite surprising actually, because I mean many of the big clubs would be definitely interested in him. So I'm surprised that he wanted to stay. Maybe he goes in the summer, but with regard to the January transfer window, I'm a bit unsure about the signings you brought in. You seem to think that they could be great additions to the squad. But the fact that they held on to some of their big name players is definitely commendable. So I'd give them about 6.
Yeah, I'd say about the same. I mean, currently sitting in 13th in the table. They're only 3 points in the drop zone, of course. So keeping on to hold of Zaha was good. I mean, it's not often good to bring in lots of names when you're trying to stay up. You know, you need togetherness, you need organisation, and bringing in new faces doesn't always help. You need a bit of quality, of course, but they've got quality. I think they've got a squad that's good enough to stay up. I mean, the wobble there at the start was probably down to the poor appointment, but Hodgson, he steadied the ship, got to give it to him. And, they played some good football. I think they've had a decent window. I think they got a good squad, 5 out of 10.
Right. Everton, another team that's been very active in this window, similarly to the summer. I'll start us off here. Sandro Ramirez gone to Sevilla on loan. He definitely didn't work out for them. He was meant to be their big number 9, who's gonna help them get into Europe this season, but he completely flopped. So they've decided to bring in Cenk Tosun from Besiktas, who's for 27 million. In fact, that's quite a bit of money for the Turkish league player. But I think he's been outstanding in the Turkish league. He's been bagging in the goals, something that Everton has struggled with in recent times. And Theo Walcott, who completely struggled at Arsenal and has lit Everton alight already, an assist in his first game and a brace in the second. He could be a huge addition. He's going to be playing week in, week out, trying to make his case for that seat on the plane to Russia. And I think that's a good signing. They paid 20 million for him, which in my opinion is a bit over, but in today's market, everyone's overpriced. So that's all right. Kevin Morales went out on loan to Olympiacos. I'm not sure how much Morales was of value to Everton, so that could be seen as a decent departure. He's gone on loan, maybe some more time to develop. And Aaron Lennon's gone to Burnley. He wasn't getting much time at Everton, was struggling with his health as well, so hopefully he does well at Burnley. They've loaned out their youngster Ademola Lookman, who often came off the bench for them. He's gone to Leipzig on loan, which is an interesting place for him actually. In my opinion, I'm surprised he's gone to the German team. But again, giving him more first team action and time to develop. So when he does return, I think he'll be a great player. So that loan move was definitely good. Everton been good, I think, in this window. They struggled at the start of the season. Big Sam's come in, steady the ship like Palace, and is on the rise. So I'd give them 8, if not a 9 out of 10. But I'll go for an 8.
Yeah, not a bad window. Cenk Tosun, 27 million. That is a lot of money. It waits to be seen if the Premier League. Theo Walcott, I think, is very good value for money. £20 million. Obviously, past his best. He didn't really achieve the heights that everyone or some said he could achieve when he was younger, especially. But makes sense for him. Makes sense for Arsenal. Makes sense for Everton. Ross Barkley, they could have got a lot more money for him had they sold him probably before he got that injury early in the season. I mean, they've probably lost out on a lot of money there. And but they've got rich owners, so maybe they're not feeling it so bad. Kevin Morales has returned to Olympiacos. He had a few attitude problems. He had a good time at Everton. I'm pretty sure he's there a good 5 years. And quality player on his day, but again, his head wasn't in the right place. Aaron Lennon didn't get enough games. He's obviously gone to Burnley. We talked about that. Sandro has returned to Spain. Of course, he came through the ranks of Barca, hyped up as a kid, but didn't get the games. So, he didn't really work out at Everton either. Couldn't adapt to the Premier League, but hopefully for them, Tosun will. And, strange one about Ademola Lookman going to Leipzig, because I remember Ollie Burke left Forest for big money at the start of last season, and he didn't get enough games at Leipzig. A young British player, didn't really work out, but hopefully for Lookman, and he can get the games and he can impress Big Sam before start next season. I'd give them a 7 out of 10 just because of Walcott. Good signing.
Yeah, I personally find it quite funny how Big Sam was talking about the other day about how Ademola Lookman is definitely not going anywhere, and then at the end of the window he goes to Leipzig. I found that quite funny. I find it a bit weird that they got rid of him because I do like Lookman. I think he's a good player, and I think especially from the bench he could have been a real asset to them. Although they did sign Tosson, to be fair, for big money, so they're probably relying on him. They want to use him. I do like Tosson myself. We were apparently in for him at the end of the summer transfer window. But we basically left it too late. We left it till deadline day, basically, so we couldn't sign him. So he went to Everton instead in January. I watched him in the Champions League. I think he's a very, very good finisher. Whether or not he can do it in the Premier League, obviously, is still yet to be seen. But I like what I've seen from him so far. I think he's energetic. I think he has some good hold-up play at the front, and I think I think his goals will come in time. Walcott as well, a good addition for them. Obviously, not the player he used to be or could possibly have been, but still definitely good enough for the Everton side, gives them some pace. Barkley, obviously a good player, but like Joe said, his head's obviously not in the right place. I think it's the best move for everyone involved. Morales on loan has surprised me a little bit. I don't think he's been as good as the last couple of seasons, but I do think he still could do a role there, and I'm surprised they let him go. But they clearly think he's not good enough for them, at least not right now. So I think Everton have had a good window. I'd give them an 8 out of 10, and I think under Big Sam, I think they'll definitely be fine. And if they give him time, they can even push onwards from next season, more to like a European position.
Huddersfield Town, another team that has surprised me in the Premier League. They've brought in 2 signings: Alex Pritchard from Norwich for 11 million, and the Monaco centre back Terence Kongolo, who I think 2 good signings. Huddersfield have put in some very impressive performances. The likes of Aaron Moy living up to what he was said to be. I still think he's very underrated as a defensive sort of holding midfielder, but they brought in 2 signings, haven't let anyone go really. Terence Kongolo probably firming up the back a little bit more. Let's see if he's going to live up to the hype that was around him at Monaco. And Alex Pritchard, I'm not too involved in watching Champions League football, so I'm unsure about him, but they paid 11 million. And for a club like Huddersfield...
Championship football, not Champions League.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, they're... did I say Champions League?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Championship.
Well, you did play for Spurs at one point, to be fair, so you were almost there.
Oh, so Championship football, I'm not too sure about it myself, but if any of you have any insight on Alex Pritchard, please do share.
Yeah, I've watched him play.
Yeah, I really rate Pritchard, personally. That's why you go on, Joe.
Oh, cheers, yeah. Seen him play a few times at Cardiff against us for Norwich City and Brentford. Probably hit the heights when he was on loan at Brentford 3 years ago under Mark Warburton, where he had a really good loan spell, really fruitful, scored a lot of goals. I think Andre Gray, he partnered him up front. I think he paid number 10, but I think Championship's his level, really, and Huddersfield really are on the slide at the moment. They haven't won since the 16th of December. They're outside the relegation places, one place outside the relegation places. They needed some experience, some Premier League experience to bring in, so someone who wasn't getting a lot of games, Terence Kongolo was a young centre-half, left-back, signed from Monaco. He was playing in the Dutch divisions. I think he came through the ranks at Feyenoord. Could be a good signing, but again, I don't think it's what they need. I think they needed experience. And obviously they lost Jack Payne, who played them last season in the Championship. He's gone on to Blackburn. Not the best window, but again, they're tight budget, tiny club. They had a very, very strong start to the season, surprised everyone, beating the likes of Manchester United. But for me, they're on the slide, and I think they could go down. I'll give them a 3 out of 10.
Okay, well, yeah, I agree with Joe in that I'm a fan of lower leagues personally, so I watch the Championship a lot, and I really rate Pritchard. I think he's a great player. I think he did well for both Brentford and Norwich when he was there. I can see where you're coming from, though, in the sense that he's not Premier League proven, so it is a bit of a gamble. But I do think he will do a job for them and will do well. He's definitely an exciting prospect, in my opinion. But in terms of, did Huddersfield really need him? I'm not entirely sure. I think their midfield's pretty good already. They've got the likes of Aaron Moy, Tom Ince. I think what was more important for them was the defence, which they got in Kongolo, to be fair, who I think will be a good signing for them. And I think they could possibly have done with a more recognised striker as well, because Poitras hasn't been bad by any means. But is he the 15, 16 goal a goals a season striker that you need to keep you up, which Huddersfield need right now. They're on a really bad run of form. He's not, in my opinion. So they could have done with another striker, I think. And it's a shame because I would like Huddersfield to stay up, but I think that it's hard to see three teams worse than them in a minute, especially after this window. So I don't think they've had an awful window. I think it's been. I'll give them about a 5 out of 10. I think it's been not great, but not terrible. But I don't think they've got enough to stay up, unfortunately.
Leicester City up next. Joe, would you like to start us off?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go.
Go on.
Go on. Yeah. Well, I think the big thing for Leicester was keeping a hold of Mahrez. He's such a crucial player to them. Was player of the season in their title-winning season for them. So keeping a hold of him was probably the biggest coup of the season for them. They got Adrian Silva in, who was supposed to sign last season but missed the deadline. So by something like 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
so they finally got him without technically having to pay anything to the contract was already done. So he'll definitely be a good signing for them, in my opinion, for Sporting Lisbon. There's not really much else to talk about with them. I mean, I think they're at 8th place at the minute. They've had a good season. They've had a great start of the season ever since Puel came in. So I think they'll have another good season. Yeah. Over the transfer window overall, I'll rate about 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Diabate scored 2 on his debut. Young striker from Ajaccio. Adrian Silva, he's been solid, good quality midfielder. But I personally think they should have cashed in for Riyad Mahrez. I think he's caused more problems by not cashing in on him. They could have got a very healthy profit. They had a huge offer for him. He's clearly upset his teammates by not turning up for training, not arriving at the hotel before tonight's game. And how he's going to go back into that squad tomorrow morning and prepare for Saturday, I don't know how the players are going to receive him. And his international buddy Slimani's gone now, so he hasn't got even him to defend him. I really think bad board management there from Leicester. I mean, they've kept a quality player who's been excellent this season, but to not grant him the opportunity to play Champions League football with Man City, I think he served them very well. He's been there a long time, helped them to the Premier League title, helped keep them up last season with a good run of form at the end of the season. And the thing is, he's requested to leave twice now. Danny Drinkwater handed in a transfer request in January. They let him go straight away. Kante, after they won the league, he was allowed to go. No block in that transfer to Chelsea, either of those transfers to Chelsea. And I feel sorry for Mahrez. I think he deserves to play in the Champions League. He's on his contract, and he's still contracted for another 3 or 4 years, I think. So, obviously, they've brought in Adrian Silva, who's a good player, but I think they should have let Mahrez go. I think that's going to cause a few problems, as it's shown tonight, with them going down 2-1. So, I'd give him a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, well, I want to say that the whole thing with Mahrez and how they sold Kante and Drinkwater straight away, I think they probably figured out that actually selling their best players is causing them to fall down in the league. So I think they probably had that in mind. But yeah.
Well,
That's true.
Yeah. Well, for the Kante thing, I think they got rid of him because they didn't really understand his value in the title-winning season until he actually left. I think that was one who they saw as a good player in their season, but didn't see him as the heart of the team. That later became evident. Danny Drinkwater, again, I don't think he's Leicester's best player. I think there's several players better than him. So, again, letting go of him wasn't the end of the world, and they cashed in 30 million for him, which I think is a great bit of profit they've made on Drinkwater, especially. The likes of Mahrez. Mahrez is a world-class player, and I think Leicester wanted to hold on for him. And maybe, I know he's asked to leave twice, but he's still got 2.5 years on his contract, so it's not like it's going to be one of the Alexis things where he's going to go for free or go on a swap deal. So if things don't work out, I guess he'll go in the summer for the same amount of money. I don't think he's going to go for anything less. But he might cause some problems in the dressing room. But I mean, I think I've seen this happen before when Mahrez has been a bit upset that he wanted to leave, but then he comes back into the team, shows a bit of spirit, and Bay's the bigger person and, puts in a good shift for them and puts in great performances. And I think he's going to do that again till the rest of the season. I think he might make a deal with the board saying, I'll give him my utmost best, 100% till the end of the season. But I really do want to leave at the end of the season. I think I've got a huge career ahead of me, and I don't think I'll be able to achieve all I can at Leicester. So I think he might make some sort of provisional deal there. But I think he will be the bigger person in this case and put in a great shift. I don't think he'll throw a tantrum or anything like that. They've loaned out 3 of their strikers, Ujoa, Musa, and Slimani. Slimani and Musa, I think, great. I think all 3 of them are actually good because they had 5 strikers at the club. Well, and they brought in Diabate as well, so now they've got 6 technically, plus Demari Gray, who can sort of do a bit of a shift up top. So getting rid of these strikers is good. I think Ahmed Musa sending him back to Moscow is a good loan deal. I think he'll get a lot of first-team football. I think he'll be able to get back into the good form that he had when he first signed, and I think that's good. Newcastle getting Slimani, I think that's a good signing for both clubs. Slimani, again, very hyped up after coming from Portugal and didn't really set the Premier League alight. I don't think any of the managers actually gave him that much time in matches, so not sure how much that affected him, but I think he's a great player as well. His heading ability is something that's excellent, and on the ball as well, he's a clinical finisher. So hopefully he does well at Newcastle, comes back to Leicester with a bit of form, and by the time, and then he can start rotating with Okazaki and maybe a bit of Vardy off the bench when the game is sealed off. Diabate, scored 2 on his debut, could be pretty decent off the bench as well. Not going to take Vardy's place though, and Okazaki as well as the backup / second striker. Liverpool, very interesting window actually. I'll get us started on this one. Van Dijk for 75 million. Finally, on the first day of the window, they managed to steal Van Dijk. So they paid a lot of money for Van Dijk, but when you're seeing City paying about 57 for Laporte, Van Dijk does seem like a good deal. He hasn't settled in very well though, as of now. He did score on his debut in the FA Cup or the League Cup, I can't remember exactly, but he hasn't kept a clean sheet since. So I'm sure he's a great signing, and in the future he'll be great once he adapts and finds his centre-back partner, whether that be Joe Gomez or Lovren or Klavan. We'll have to wait and see. But I think that's a good bit of business. They got rid of Coutinho finally. I think they cashed in a lot of money for him, 146 million, which is a great deal, I think, for both clubs. Coutinho was very vital, but with the attacking likes of Mane, Salah, Firmino, they're doing very well. And I'm not sure how much Coutinho added to them, especially with the likes of these 3 big names. Maybe they might go for Lamar in the summer to be a replacement. I'm surprised they didn't actually put in a big bid for Mahrez, because they've got the Coutinho money. So in order to get a like-for-like replacement, I think if they had given the right valuation to Leicester for Mahrez, about 60, 65 million, maybe even if they had to push for 70, I think they would have got a world-class player in Riyad Mahrez, and that's a good replacement for Philippe Coutinho. They got rid of Daniel Sturridge on loan. Again, wasn't getting much first-time football, sent him off. I think he's past his prime now, or, just coming towards the end of it. Hasn't done very well at Liverpool in recent years. But we know how good he is, and hopefully he does well for West Brom, helps keep them up. Overall, 6 out of 10. I mean, they brought in Van Dijk as the defensive reinforcement that they needed, lost a big name in Coutinho, but I'm not sure if they spent the money wisely enough. I think they should have brought in Mahrez at the moment, right now, strike while the iron's hot, get a good deal for Mahrez, and replace, and that's a great replacement for Coutinho.
Yeah. Well, I think that with Liverpool is, well, I mean, obviously they wanted Van Dijk for a long time, and they needed a defensive signing. I mean, Klopp hasn't made a lot of defensive signings in his time, so they finally did make one. But the thing is, he hasn't been very good for Southampton this season at all, and I think he's showing that now at Liverpool. I mean, they lost to Swansea after beating Manchester City, and they've only threw that game away as well. So I don't think, maybe he obviously needs time to settle with Liverpool, but I don't think that's been a great signing so far, definitely. And Coutinho, I think, won't be a massive loss because they have got a lot of good attacking players. But Coutinho was a really important player for them, and I think losing him, Barcelona wanted him for a reason, so I think they will be hurting from that eventually. To be honest, I'm not actually sure. I think they were supposed to sign Naby Keita from Leipzig. I think they agreed a deal in the summer to sign in January. I'm not quite sure what's happened to that.
He's signing in the summer.
In the summer, is it? Okay, no. Right. But still, I think he was due to sign in January last summer, and they didn't get him now. So I think he could possibly fill the role for him there. Then they might miss a bit. Daniel Sturridge, with the likes of Salah, Sané and Mane and Salah there. Excuse me. Obviously, Sturridge doesn't compare to them, so he sort of surplus requirements. And obviously, your Cardiff, your guys, Joe, got Marco Grujic on loan, who I think I'm still a bit salty for him for tackle on Tompkins, to be honest. I do think he's a dirty player, but one who can do a job. So, and not good enough Liverpool, in my opinion. So I think that's a good loan move for him. But Liverpool, I don't think have had a great window this season so far. They lost one of their biggest names, and the big name that they brought in, especially for the price, I don't think was worth it. So I'm going to give them about 5 out of 10 personally. They're definitely going to have done better in my opinion.
Well, I'll start with Cardiff, being that they're my team. Signed Grujic on loan till the end of the season. I doubt we'll keep him. Honestly, I think he'll go back to Liverpool and probably be sold in the summer, if you ask me. Hasn't made a great impact at the start. Looked very nervy. He's got a good long shot on him. Got to give it to him. I think he's just going to be a settler in midfield, a bit of an enforcer, but I don't think he'll cut it at Liverpool. He's just a poor man's Emre Can, if you ask me. And they've kept hold of Emre Can. Obviously, he's out of contract in the summer, but it's good for Grujic because he will get game time. Cardiff will actually be financially punished. Not sure what the fee is, but if he plays under 14 games, that's under 14 appearances, Cardiff will be financially punished by Liverpool. So quite interesting there. Brian Kent's gone on loan to Bristol City as well, Cardiff's seven-side rivals. So he's a good young player. Welsh, got potential, and Bristol City are known for bringing through good young players. Cameron Brannigan, who's a Liverpool boy, has not been loaned out. He's been sold to Oxford United, and he didn't really break through as his hero Steven Gerrard did. So he's gone to League One, and you see how you can kickstart his career there. But Daniel Sturridge on loan, I was a bit surprised he went on loan. I don't think he fits the bill at Liverpool, to be honest. But obviously, with it being on loan, if there is an injury, they could to Firmino, for example, they could recall him. But I think Liverpool needed a striker, if you ask me. I mean, Dominic Solanke's the backup, and I think they need a good number 9. I think that's what they needed, but they haven't got a replacement for Coutinho either. Van Dijk, I think in the long run, will be good. I think he had a very good season last year. At Southampton this year, he wasn't really playing for the team or the manager, and they've slumped really. And Southampton haven't really replaced him, but we'll get onto that later. 75 million is a lot, world record for a defender. And you look at City paying 57 million for Emerick Laporte, who's an excellent young defender. I think perhaps they got the better deal there, but I think they've obviously got a net profit from this window, and I think if they get top 4, they can kick on. They'll have Champions League football, and they make some big signings, and hopefully add to the signing of Keita in the summer. I'd say 6 out of 10, but it's looking good for Liverpool. I think next season, if they had a good window, they'll be challenging for the title, perhaps.
Yep, and quickly, just before we move on, George, this might not make you too happy, but breaking news from Sky sources, Crystal Palace now believe it is too late in the day to complete a deal for Lille captain Ibrahim Amadou.
Yeah, I mean, that's disappointing, but to be honest, with the way this saga's been going, it's not really surprising me too much, so I wasn't really getting myself excited, but there you go.
Alright, quickly moving on to Man City, bringing in the main signing that Joe just brought up, Aymeric Laporte for 57 million. Good young centre back. I think he'll be a good reinforcement, replacement for Company once he retires, as well as a rotation centre back or even starting centre back alongside John Stones or Otamendi. If they decide to play a 3 at the back, he could be pretty good in that 3 centre half system. Didn't really lose anyone too important, but did they really need any more signings? 7 out of 10. They brought in a good centre back. Didn't lose anyone, and thriving in the season. The league's basically there, so. Yeah, 7.
Well, with City, I mean, let's be honest, they're 10, 13 points ago at the top of the table still.
15 now.
Yeah, well, exactly. So you can't really say they need much strengthening. And if there is one position, I would say they only really need strengthening in is defence, and they've got that. I think that Laporte is a good signing and will do well for them. Jack Harrison, I honestly have no idea what he's like. I don't watch the MLS, but I'm sure he'll be a good starting for them. Pep knows his players. I'm sure he can get the most out of him. I think it'll be a shame they missed out on Sanchez, especially when they nailed on to get him. But again, they've already got a great attacker, so I don't think they're going to miss him very much. But loaned out a bunch of youngsters they didn't need, got them off the wage bill. Not really much else to say, really. I think Man City have had a good window. I'd give them an 8 out of 10. I think they'll definitely go on to be champions after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Laporte's a good signing in the long run and broke the transfer record. Jack Harrison from the parent club New York City. See how that goes. I'll give them the 7 out of 10 again. It's been a quiet window. They're going to win the league, aren't they? So we'll see what they do in the summer.
Man United bringing in Alexis Sanchez, losing Mkhitaryan and Twanzebe, who I feel quite strongly about. Alexis bringing him in, excellent. Not sure exactly where he'll play. At today's game, I think he was playing on the left wing and Martial moving over to the right wing. If that works out, I know Alexis will be great. He wasn't great today, but I do think he'll be excellent later on this season, and for sure next season he'll be the heart of the team. Losing Mkhitaryan was sad, especially in the way that he left. He really didn't want to go, and I think it's really cruel for us to have essentially kicked him out of the club. Twanzebe going out on loan, I think he's a defensive rock. I think he was absolutely exceptional towards the end of last season, and I think he's a great player. I hope I want him to come back from his loan from Aston Villa as soon as possible. I really rate this guy, and I think he'll be a first team starter in the very near future. So I think we've done pretty well. 7 out of 10. Lost Mickey, Twanzebe out on loan, but the big name Alexis Sanchez coming. 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, you've said pretty much everything I would have said, Shiven. I mean, Sanchez, I think overall swapping him for Mkhitaryan wasn't ideal, but I don't think they've got the better end of the deal. Loaned out to players they're not really using. I mean, didn't do much good tonight, to be fair to them. But I do think overall they could possibly have invested maybe in a defender, perhaps. But other than that, I think they have had a good window. I'd give them a 7 out of 10 personally.
Yeah, another good window for United. Kept on to David De Gea once more. And Sanchez, the deal that seemed to take forever to fall through, but eventually it did. Feel sorry for Mkhitaryan because he started the season really well. But yeah, positive to bring in Sanchez and Twanzebe, get game time, improve his career. Good window, 7 out of 10.
Newcastle, the next one, relatively quiet. They brought in Kennedy on loan, who I think is a great signing, a good youngster who will be playing first team football. I think he's actually quite a great player. I mean, he's very versatile, and he brings good defensive traits and attacking traits. So I think he'll be pretty good for Newcastle. I think they desperately needed it. Oh, and they got in Slimani. Sorry, that's not updated on the screen yet. But again, Slimani, I think is a great player. Joselu, I don't think is a very good striker technically, and he's not been getting too many goals. So Slimani could be an excellent addition to them attackingly. There's this whole thing about Mike Ashley not giving enough funds and whether the club is for sale and the transfer of power, etc., all taking place. So a bit chaotic in terms of the board in Newcastle, but a poor window, a mediocre window, I'd have to say, 5 out of 10. They didn't bring in anyone to really bolster the squad. Slimani only on loan. I think he will be great, but a bit early to say. Kennedy, again, on loan, decent, but only short-lived. They haven't really bought anyone for the future.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Mediocre window. I mean, when you got an owner that isn't willing to pump money into the club, you're always going to struggle, and they are struggling, really. I think Rafa Benitez is a big-name manager, and it's not often that Newcastle have a manager of that calibre, and they haven't won a trophy in so long now. I think it's really underwhelming for Newcastle fans. I think Slimani, hopefully he'll hit the ground running. I mean, he's out for 2 to 3 games with an injury, and they've got Leicester coming up, so he really needs to hit the ground running if he's going to help steer clear Newcastle from the drop zone. But Kennedy, I really like. He's a great move for Chelsea because he's going to develop his career, and personally for him, going to have a lot of games in the league that he wants to play in. So yeah. And obviously they got rid of Sivet, who didn't really work out. Adam Armstrong also to Blackburn. That's a good deal because I think he'll get a lot of games, and I rate him as a good young player. So yeah, 4 out of 10, not the best window ever, but it's because of Ashley.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Slimani will be good for them. I rate him myself. I think he was pretty underrated at Leicester. I think the fact that he was crowded out by so many other strikers caused him to suffer a bit. But I think he could do well at the likes of Newcastle, who are trying to stay up. I think Kennedy is one of Chelsea's many loan talents. I haven't really watched him too much. I don't know what he's like, but he can play. He seems like a good player. I'm sure he can do well for them. The thing about Newcastle I've noticed, though, is they're all loan signings, every single one of them, in and out. So that says the sort of thing that's going on in Newcastle at the minute. They don't want to spend anything or lose anything. They're very much. They just want to keep things as they are. The club is very clearly being run as a business, which Newcastle fans must be sick to death of at this point. So I think they have got a couple of good players that can do a job for them, but in terms of their overall business, I think it's just been a complete shambles from start to finish. Really, I'd give them a 4 out of 10 myself.
All right, Joe, would you like to walk us through
Yeah,
Southampton?
Southampton. So, I mean, 75 million is an absolute huge sum of money for a club of that size. And I mean, obviously they're a growing club, been in the league for a while now. But when you're struggling as much as you have been this season, I mean, they've never since they've come up, been in this situation. They've been pretty stable. I think the first year they got up, they finished mid-table, pushing for Europe. They got rid of Claude Puel in the summer, which is absolute bonkers. 12 games without a win now. Absolute joke. And they brought in Carrillo from Monaco. He's in his prime of his career, obviously. He's about 27 years of age, 19 million, but they needed to reinvest that money in a centre-half at least. They needed to bring in probably a quality midfielder. Pierre Højbjerg from Bayern Munich hasn't really worked out. Neither has Lamina from Juventus. I mean, 12 games without a win for Southampton is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, obviously, they're not the biggest club in the league, and usually they wouldn't have a lot of money to spend, but they've just cooped up £75 million. They need to reinvest that. 20 million on a striker is good, because they did need a striker. Shane Long hasn't been scoring the goals he has in previous seasons, but honestly, I give them 3 out of 10. They lost a very good defender, and they've brought in a goal scorer, but they needed more, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm just very quick on this one. I agree completely with Joe. He said it very well. 3 out of 10 for me. Didn't reinvest the money very well. Got a big ton of it. But hopefully in the summer they could use it, put it to better value.
If they stay up.
Yeah, if they stay.
Yeah, exactly what you two have said. Southampton's biggest problem for a long time now is they've had so many big name signings go for a lot of big money, and they haven't reinvested that. It's the same here. I think they've got something like they made like a 50 million profit or something like that, which tells you everything you need to know about what's going on at Southampton at the minute. They should have invested a lot of that in at least a centre back. They needed it more than anything. I mean, to be fair, I think Van Dijk is a much smaller loss now than he was at the beginning of the season, because he hasn't been that great for them. But he is still lost. They do need centre backs, so they should have at least reinvested that in him. I think Carrillo is a good signing, but I think they've got players like Tadic, like Charlie Austin, who can score goals already. I don't think they really needed another one particularly. They needed defence more. And 19 million is, considering what they sold Van Dijk for, it's not a bad price, but it shows they could be spending more. So I'd agree. I think I'd give them a 3 out of 10 myself. I think they're really gonna. This might be the season they go down, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Stoke City, they got Badu Ndiaye from Galatasaray, who I think could be quite good for them, and they got a couple of lads on a free as well. They didn't really lose anyone. Stoke they got rid of Mark Pugh. They went through a rough run of form, but now it's slightly started to stable themselves again and get back to winning ways. They held on to Shaqiri again, so not much to say really about Stoke. I was 5 rather. Not too great. They could have brought in someone bigger. Didn't lose anyone, so yeah, I'll go for the average 5.
I agree. There's not much to say on Stoke. They obviously brought in a new manager, Paul Lambert, who's got experience in the Premier League, but he obviously was the man who was sacked by Villa when they were struggling so much, and part of the reason they got relegated. And I think Stoke, though, solid 0-0 tonight. I mean, they probably needed a bit more, but I think Paul Lambert needs to address the problems. His defence is the main problem. I mean, Stafford List from Augsburg, the Greek defender, he's an experienced defender. I think he could shore up the defence, but he's got to do it all himself, I guess. They haven't had the money to spend, but hopefully they can sort their problems out. I think they should be fine. I think they've already got enough quality, so 5 out of 10. They haven't lost any big players yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, Stoke, we all need to know their defence needs sorting out. If I'm correct, I think they conceded more goals than they won the league. If not, they're definitely up there. But they signed, I think, both a left back and a right back. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really know any of these players, I'll be honest. I'm not entirely sure who's who, but they look like good players. Obviously, Paul Lambert has come in. I think he's turned the corner a little bit for them. He's definitely doing better than Mark Hughes was, but there's still a long way for them to go, in my opinion. I think all of their signings look like they could improve their squad a lot, and I think it will be close for them, but I think they will stay up, and I think this window will be a good part of that. So I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10.
All right, next one being Swansea. Bought back Andre Ayew for 18 million from West Ham. I guess a good signing. Swansea struggled recently in the league, but come off two massive results. Um, Not much to say about the Swans. Didn't bring in anyone big who I think they could have and should have to really confirm that they're going to be staying up again. But no, not much again to say about Swansea. Bought back Andre Ayew, probably about a 5 out of 10, I would have to say.
Yeah. I mean, Swansea. One thing Swansea needed it was goals, and obviously Andre Ayew is someone who knows the team. I don't think he's the greatest goal scorer in the world myself, but I think he could do a job for them. Carlos Carvalhal seems to be working really well. They just beat Liverpool and Arsenal, so they seem to be turning a corner. So they might not need many new faces, in my opinion. It might just be about getting the squad they already have back up for it and together again and making them a team, which seems to be working so far. So it's not been a great window. I'd give them about a 5 out of 10, but I don't think it's really needed to be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Carvalhal, hate to say it, but he has been a great appointment so far. He's a big motivator. Obviously struggled this season with his former club Wednesday, but brought back Andre Ayew, who's a quality player. When he's played this season, he hasn't been too bad. And outs, no major outs except Roque Meza, who they've loaned back to Spain after an unsuccessful signing in the summer. And I mean, it frees up some wages that they have obviously spent on Ayew. So not a bad window for Swansea. Personally, I hope they get relegated, but no, they're doing well. Not a bad window. So 5 out of 10, good signing with Ayew.
Spurs, not too much. Bringing in Lucas Moura, not sure how much he'll help the squad. They've got quite a bit of attacking talent. But I mean, I think he's underrated at PSG. He's a good player inside. He's very talented, and if Poch can get the best out of him, I think he could be pretty good for Spurs, or either off the bench or as a rotation player for a winger like Son or Sissoko. Could take Sissoko's place possibly. Lost Nkudu, who wasn't getting much time, but he's gone on loan, so when he comes back, he could be a much more developed and mature player. Apart from that, they didn't really lose anyone too major. Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's a youngster, gone on loan to Ipswich. So, yeah, not a bad window for Spurs, 6 out of 10. Not sure how much they needed Moura, but I think he could be integrated into the team quite nicely.
Yeah, I think it's a very good signing with Lucas Moura. It's exactly what they need is a bit of pace up front. Obviously, Kane, Ali, Ericsson and Son, they're all excellent players. They played really well tonight. But Lucas Moura adds that different dimension, a bit of pace. Linking up with a former teammate down the right in Serge Aurier. 25 million actually looks a really good deal because he was really hyped up a few seasons ago, and with the wealth of attacking talent that PSG have got, they really don't need him. So I think it's a really brilliant signing for Spurs. I think that's one of the best deadline day deals of today. In actual fact, they haven't signed anyone from on a deadline day since August 2015, and Dele Alli was that man, and that worked out pretty well, didn't it? So if Lucas Moura can have the same impact, I think Spurs could break back into the top four. The results went perfect for them tonight. With Chelsea and United slipping up. And 25 million, excellent value for money. And Kudu's going to get game time at Burnley, and wait to be seen if he'll be used next season. And also Cameron Carter-Vickers looks like an interesting one to Ipswich. He was at Sheffield United, who are doing very well in the Championship, but wasn't getting the games that Spurs had hoped. So he's gone to Ipswich, who are also mid-table, so get a few more games there. That's also a good move for the club and the player.
Yeah, I agree. I think Moore will be a great signing for them, especially if 25 million is a great price in this market. I think that we know Pochettino doesn't like to do his signings in January, so I think that signing was pretty surprising actually. So I think for that alone, that's the really pleasant surprise for Spurs, and has them. I think that's a good window for them automatically. Obviously, players they've loaned out, Nkudu to Burnley, Carter-Vickers to Ipswich. Marcus Edwards to Norwich. Players who weren't going to get game times, they let them get to development. Not much else to say. I think Spurs had a good window. I'd give them an 8 out of 10 personally, and I think they've got enough to sneak back in the top four. I think they'll get a Champions League this season.
Watford. Watford Brian Delafeu, which is a very interesting signing. He's had quite the career, gone from Everton to Barca, now down to Watford. He actually started a couple of games for Barca at the start of the season when they didn't have Coutinho and Dembele. So I think he'll be great actually for Watford, bringing a bit of pace up front. Probably partnering up with Richarlison as well on opposite wings. They brought in Luke Bacchio from Anderlecht. Don't know too much about him, but seems to be quite hyped up, and Watford fans very happy with that signing. In terms of departures, they lost Isaac Success on loan to Malaga. which I think is another good loan deal. He'll go out, develop, come back a more mature player, and probably fit right into the first team. 7 out of 10 for Watford. Decent business.
Yeah, well, I think after the departure of after the Silva left, I think it was important that they got someone in quickly and tried to refresh the squad as much as possible because it looks like the wheels are falling off big time at the minute. I think Delafeu was a great signing, especially for Watford's level. He can do well for them. I was a bit surprised at Ndong, to be honest. I mean, he didn't exactly set the world alight at Sunderland, but maybe Garcia can get the best out of him. I don't know. The other two, Dalberg and Luka Bacchio, I've never heard of them. I really don't know anything about them, so I can't comment, I'm afraid. But Watford fans seem happy with both of them, so that's good for them, I guess. And I'd give them a 7 out of 10 overall. I think they've had a good window, but they desperately need to pull themselves together before this season goes completely down the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was important that they brought in a new manager soon after sacking Silva. I think Didier Ndong is a very strange one because he really struggled at Sunderland in the year and a half he was there. He was their record signing. Obviously, he went down with them last season. Watched him play at Cardiff City Stadium this season. He was sent off. And he's come on loan. And interestingly, just breaking news that Watford have released Ben Watson, who's an experienced player in the English football leagues. And they've brought in Ndong. So very strange. But I think it's been an average window for Watford. Delafeu could go either way, though. I give them 6 out of 10 just for that one.
All right, last two clubs, West Brom and West Ham. Joe, would you like to continue with West Brom?
Yeah, obviously Daniel Sturridge is the main one, the main signing this season on loan. Could be good for both parties. I mean, he's a quality player. He's been part of some great Liverpool squads, been in the England squad quite recently, actually, and if he can get fit and firing, he could have a good partnership up front with, say, Jay Rodriguez or Solomon Rondon. And they've today sold Tyler Roberts, who's a young Welsh international, so I was a bit surprised by that. I thought maybe a loan move may have been better for Roberts because he's a talented young player, but he's gone to Leeds United for 2.5 million, which shows how highly rated he is for such a young age, 19 years of age. So yeah, quite a window for West Brom, but I think they're on the up. Alan Pardew seems to have turned it around. He struggled at the start, but they've had some good results this window, and Sturridge is a good signing, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Just want to quickly mention Ahmed Higazi, the Egyptian centre-back, I believe. Been pretty good for them so far. I think he's nodded in a couple goals as well, if I'm not wrong. And been solid at the back. Daniel Sturridge, I think he'll slot right in as a first-choice striker. If he can relieve some of his form that he had at his prime, West Brom will definitely be staying up. And Pardew, surprisingly, been all right. Getting a few good results for West Brom. So, yeah, George, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, I think Sturridge is possibly the best signing of the whole window. I think we all know what he can do. He's a great talent. He can score goals, and a team like West Brom, I think he can really get back to his best. We all know West Brom needed a goal scorer. They've got one. They've brought in 2 defenders as well. I unfortunately don't know anything about either of them either. But Higazi especially seems to have started well, so they look like they'll be good signings. I mean, Pardew, to be fair to him, is turning it around. I reckon they definitely will stay up. I think they'll go on a run and they'll be fairly comfortable at the end. I'd rent their transfer window a 9 out of 10. It's just next season they've got to be worried about that.
Last but not least, West Ham United. They brought in João Mario from Inter Milan, who I think is a great loan deal. I think he's a really crafty player. I think he's a very talented midfielder, and I think he'll really improve that midfield and sort of give them that attacking threat that would help out with Arnautovic and possibly give more service to Chicharito as well. They cashed in 18 million for Andre Ayew. Diafra Sakho also gone on loan to France, I believe. But the addition of João Mario, unfortunately, it's only on loan. I would have liked to see that be a permanent deal, but that is definitely something that will try and keep West Ham up in the Premier League this season. I think he'll definitely increase the odds of them staying up. And if he continues his form that he had at Inter Milan and in the past, I think he'll be a great addition to the squad. 7 out of 10 for West Ham. Didn't lose anyone. Got a bit of money back for Andre Ayew and got a great midfielder in João Mario. Joe?
Hello? Yeah, sorry. Reece Burke gone on to Bolton to get some game time. Good signing for them. Will solidify Bolton's defence as they look to stay up in the Championship. Diafra Saka has looked like he's been leaving for a while, so that's good for them. And another forward who's left, and they brought in João Mario, who won the Euros in 2016, so he's an experienced player, quality player. Made his first appearance in the Premier League last night in the draw against... that's past my mind. But yeah, he had a good debut.
That was against us. 1-0.
Palace, that's the one. Slipped down my mind, that one, yeah. And Martin Samuelson to Burton. That's interesting because Burton really are struggling, and if he's going to make an impact, it's going to be an important one. So 6 out of 10, João Mario, good signing.
Yeah, well, I've not been too impressed with West Ham's business, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, João Mario, I think, is an amazing signing for them. It's a shame it was a loan, but with the option to buy is always helpful. And I think he will do a good job for them. But I think they needed a lot more, in my opinion, particularly with the injuries they've got. The likes of Arnautovic, Andy Carroll, Masuaku got a 6-game ban for spitting. They needed a lot of squad reinforcement, in my opinion. They just didn't do enough. You and Sacco go. Which, don't get me wrong, I understand why they let them go, because they were clearly unsettled at the club, but are you in particular selling to one of your clubs at all? Try and ship them up. And the thing is, they let 2 strikers go and haven't tried to bring in a replacement. Obviously, Hernandez isn't happy and hasn't been doing that well for them, so I wouldn't be relying on him to stay out by yourself. It's the same old thing at West Ham. They don't seem too keen to spend much money, a bit like at Newcastle, and they've needed a lot of players to keep them up. I still do think they will be okay, but that's purely because they've got David Moyes at the helm, who's an experienced manager who knows the Premier League, and they're doing a lot better than he was at Sunderland. But I think in terms of their transfer window, it's probably been one of the worst. I'd give them about a 3 out of 10 personally.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed that Deadline Day special. Please let us know in the comments who you think had the best January transfer window, and feel free to rate your club out of 10. Please do like, subscribe, and leave your comments below. And until then, we will see you next week. Thank you.